profile to meet the street. Some got
correct.
some got more because of the change of the grade, but everybody got a new approach. The difference between the approach and the easement is what changed on some of these homes. But you go look, and where the easement starts and the new surface is, they're just kind of crumbling. They want a new piece, or I don't know whether there's no integrity issue or a road build issue. They were built to spec and they're fantastic, and every one of them got a new approach. It's after the approach, in between that,
So between the approach and their concrete driveways.
Exactly.
So, and I view, Oyster Creek. Why is it on Oyster Creek Court though that we did some of those 15, 20 foot or 10 to 20 foot spans between approach and concrete? Was it elevation, or was it because their integrity was bad?
It all had to do with, most of it had to do with elevation profiles changing in the street. Is to meet that properly. That's correct.
And so it wasn't so much that the houses that got it, their existing 10 to 20 feet between approach and between concrete was in such poor condition we decided to do it.
No.
It was to meet elevation.
No, it had two criteria. If it was gravel covered with asphalt to be consistent with Richwood Code of Ordinance, if it had an adverse effect on the approach driveway due to the changing elevation profile, alter it as need be.
Yeah, and I think at that point, that's when, you draw the ire of some people and go, well, they got 6 feet or 8 feet, we got 3 feet. Well, yes, but yours was flat with the road already. Theirs is, a little bit steeper, so it had to be changed. The profile had to be matched all the way up, but I think that's what kicked it off into, my neighbor got it and I didn't. I don't know why.
It was hard. It was hard with one individual that talked to me the most. It was hard for him to see because there was a fairly large quantity of a concrete driveway that had to be redone right across the street from him. It looks bad. The optics are bad. Sure. But it was, reviewed by trained associates, unbiased party, based on what they felt the street needed to succeed, and the approaches needed to be accommodated.
Do we know how many residents this 30,000 would cover, or is this existing as a part of phase 2, or is this a estimate that would get us through the end of phase 2 with what we already know, such as Oyster Creek Court?
That's correct. It will cover all locations. I don't have the exact count.
Okay.
On Oyster Creek Court, San Saba, Success. I think I would say Cypress Court, but I think all those are gravel. Anything within the project scope that is currently asphalt that they anticipated leaving as asphalt, they would replace that up to. I think it's probably somewhere in the vicinity of 10 to 20, but I'm really shooting for the other.
Okay.
How far does the easement go for driving?
Actually, it's not very consistent in Richwood. It does alter a little bit. So we picked that at the point where it goes to concrete, but it's generally roughly 30 feet from the center of the street. I don't know up the driveway specifically. I don't have it. I'll say about 15 feet, I guess.
Do you have any pictures to visually represent, kind of show?
Did you get any?
Yeah, I think there's.
I might have.
And that's one of the things I'm looking at. I guess I focused too much on these words, where it said if driveways consisted of asphalt that maintained integrity, they were not modified. Mm-hmm. And so that's what led me to believe that there were several of them that weren't elevation changes, but their asphalt was in poor condition, so the city did theirs, versus the residents that happen to still have decent asphalt left. They didn't get theirs done.
What's the street?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. It would have been gravel, or basically non-existent, no integrity existing for them.
It's Oyster Creek Court is
Oyster
the
Creek Court?
one we're looking at, yeah.
Okay. Let me try to pull up on the board.
And I don't think that they were going and doing any mechanical integrity tests on the gravel to make a determination, right?
Well, and that's what I said. Maybe I focused more on that last sentence then the elevation change, you know, especially when driving through the naked eye, I didn't notice extreme elevation that would have caused where some were done and some weren't, but, you know, the 7 residents that are still there on Ocean Creek Court, you know, I don't know what they look like before on the other residents, so I'm sitting here thinking,
I don't know
could they
where
have been that
that
much
happened.
worse?
I don't know if you're gonna be able to get close enough to air view from it.
It's the wood, huh? It's the wood.
Don't question Google Earth.
They got those little cars. Or like you put.
Well, there, move your cursor up, straight up, no, up towards the top, to the left. Stop. Now move your cursor, right there. Can you zoom in on that driveway?
Oh, yeah, I see that.
You see the split, the difference?
And you actually see next door, Mike, it kind of goes to your question.
Right here?
Yes, the same thing.
There's 2 feet versus 10 feet.
This is not nice.
So the approaches will cover approximately 2.5 to 3 feet, to get them into the driveway, a smooth transition from the street. It's from that point to the concrete. They are pretty consistent. Mike, I tried, but they do vary back and forth a foot or so.
I guess the approach, the angle of approach is now all the same, or relatively close to the same.
Correct.
Angle.
Within spec.
Within
Correct.
spec.
Yeah, and that's
Instead
the,
of having those big old.
Yeah, somebody's dropping out into the.
Yes.
well, and
Yeah,
that's,
big drop, you no longer approach.
that's what the approach was for, providing approach for everybody. We're not raising or lowering driveways unless something was drastic. We would make those accommodations, but it's,
And that, the one just, where your cursor is now, and yeah, that's another good example, because that goes all the way back up underneath those cars. So, do you see the difference between that one across the street,
Width.
and then, yeah, and then the width, and then this one to the south of that, or, yeah, I guess the south of that would be, so there was no real way to, it's all or nothing on those types, so they just did the approach.
No wonder you had to just
It's
put
the most fair way to do it, yeah.
It's just the optics look so different because
They just,
I've done my best, and I have email correspondence.
and they're gonna want.
Yeah.
Want it to look like their neighbors.
And I've actually talked to, the one gentleman, I've had a few complaints on this, it's not one guy, I just want to express that, there's been probably 3 or 4 people that approached me about this on Bush Street Court, 2 to 3 on San Saba, it's not just one person. I can't say the one individual I talked to understood, but
What is the major complaint? Is it because their car is bouncing too much, or is it just because it doesn't look the same, like they got as much as their neighbor? Like, that's all that it is.
That's
It's
it.
like, there is no performance issue, right? It's just a
Aesthetics.
aesthetics.
Go back to that oval driveway again.
Yeah, did you see that one? Like how the entrance is here?
Yeah.
It's like gravel.
But I mean,
Where's the easement on that driveway?
it would be,
30 feet from the center?
yeah, it would actually be further in the yard than what's illustrated at the driveway on that.
But correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, like, I know in our neighborhood, when you build, you're responsible to build up to the road. That's the builder and the homeowner's responsibility to have your driveway meet up there. If there's a disconnect between the road that is the city road and your driveway, that's on you.
Yeah,
I mean,
That's correct.
is that not a fair statement to say? I mean,
no, it's a fair
the
statement.
city's paying, the road is the city's responsibility, but up to the road is the homeowner's responsibility.
Yeah,
Kinda like
it's
the curb.
Kind of like water, right?
It's just-
I mean,
Right.
kind of like water, you're up to, you own it all the way up to the meter. If it breaks, you know, a foot after the meter, that's on the homeowner, not on the city.
That's correct. It's just, you know, it is customary in other cities, and they do this kind of work 99% of the time, they will go up to the edge of these. Our particular situation, and the degree in which we need to be conservative for future work, we have to look at it a different way.
Well, also, you said there was some variation in the easements, right, as well?
Yeah, where it turns to concrete, where we assume that line to be, just by a matter of inches or within a foot.
So So what about for the overall look of the city? Is it better for us as a city to have consistency?
Where's Kimberly? We need Richwood beautiful here. $630,000.
As opposed to 2 feet here and 13 feet here, is it look better? Is it better for our city to, what do you think, Cliff?
Yeah, the degree of consistency would be nice, but in my current situation and the limited resources I'm working with and the projects I have facing me in the future, I have a hard time.
Something we can address later whenever we're past all the need tos, right?
Possible. Maybe so.
Be down for redoing.
That would be, you know, if we came to the end of the project and we had some money left over in the bond. But now we got the equipment here right now.
This is correct.
Mob and demob is expensive too. I mean, that's,
Yeah, so, I don't know.
I can't get out of the fact that I don't have pictures to see the other, and I understand the length to match the slope of elevation to make it equal. I'm not trying to say you didn't do a unbiased, fair job all the way, Cliff, but I would be pretty hot myself. I've tried to get out of that feeling to understand if I could look at this any other way. And if I'm right next door and I'm
Sure.
7 out of 35,
Sure.
we didn't get it done.
You know, and I'll tell you, when we say a certain degree of integrity, it is intact. It is not free floating or moving. It does not mean it's not cracked. It does not mean some portions are not turned to a little bit of gravel. You know, it's not saying that it's in perfect condition. It's that it maintains integrity and we can consider it a dust-free surface.
When it does help me to know to hear tonight that a lot of it was the angle of the slope and to adjust that and not
Yeah.
the conditions of integrity. How bad was the asphalt versus,
It's
you know.
really a hodgepodge how this is done. It's 1 foot over here, 6 feet over
Right.
here, nothing over here. You know, it's just,
This house sits at 30 feet, this house sits at 31 feet, this house sits at 26 feet.
Yeah.
It's all elevation.
they
right?
only modified what they had to modify. Make sure they didn't cause a problem with the approach.
So at the end of the day, we have to make a decision on performance versus aesthetics. Performance, there's no issue. Aesthetics, there's an issue. Do we feel like we should spend $30,000 on aesthetics or allocate that money towards performance on our streets that we know is already poor?
And that's just half of the project.
Yeah, that's just it.
It could be 60,000.
Or more.
And then once the word gets out, well, I mean, they're gonna do all that there.
This should encapsulate
That's
the
my
entire.
concern is this
Okay.
is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's snowball.
According to Vice President Two, Mike Murphy, he took measurements off prints, not field measurements, but of every situation that this pertained to. And this was the complete price he gave.
do we have a forecasted how much would come under budget?
No.
We don't have anything
No.
forecasted.
Yeah.
Cause
Right number.
Right.
Before we get.
And
It's safe to say, though,
we
these-
don't know, right?
Correct.
So the project's not done, so something could.
Prices can change
You
it.
could.
these monies will be tied to road repairs though, for their life, right? I mean, we dedicated 1.5 million in the bond,
Yes.
so this
It
is,
won't be taken and moved somewhere else.
yeah, this isn't gonna turn into, okay, well, we ended up deciding to go no against these change orders, and we're giving it to,
You've
No,
got 3
something
million
different.
allocated specifically for roads, 1.5 for sidewalk, and $500,000 for drainage. That 3 million will, every penny will go to roads. I'm just trying to,
so a safer approach, even though it would probably cost us more for mobilization, would be to evaluate them at the end of the project with any leftover funds.
it would probably be, I would have to say.
But it wouldn't.
It would be more, but it'd be, we could say that we're not necessarily taking it off the table completely, but it's
Oh.
as the project finishes,
Yes, sir.
we could reevaluate.
We can read that. Correct.
So we know it'll be more, but probably 5,000 more, you know. If they're still here and they haven't left, right, we're not gonna have to remobilize. So we can say that we could table this until closer to the end of the project and then bring it up again.
Yeah, I would recommend the very end of the project after the last invoice is paid. And that way we have a very good understanding of
Where we're at.
It is.
Yeah, cause I really hate to, I understand, like I said, we did it based off spec, we did it in fairness, but I would hate for the end of this, now we're looking for things to go spending this extra money that we came under budget, and there
Don't
will
worry about
always
that,
be
sir.
plenty.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Right,
I promise you.
there will always be, but,
We'll find
but
another
then
road.
we'll be grading it on, well, how much important, is this sidewalk versus
That's the next action, man.
these 30, so
Yeah, but that's,
that would be
that's
a
what
good.
you have to do. So how would we have to structure a motion to table to have it come at the end of the project? Like what kind of language would we need to have to make that motion?
So really to table it means we need to bring it back the following month.
Okay.
So we could just, no action tonight, and then Cliff will just put it back on the agenda. If need be.
That's good.
I make a motion to table.
No,
That-
You don't
we
that-
just
need
need to no action, we'll just no action it,
Okay.
kind of just let it go for tonight, but if we table, I have to bring it back. And we don't know when we'll bring it back.
All right. Any further discussion or questions on item D? Okay, do I have a motion? All right, going once. Going twice. All right, item D dies for lack of action. All right, moving on to item E. Discuss and consider approval of change order in the amount of $29,838 to repair roughly 310 linear feet of the western portion of Cypress Street.
Okay, so I'm bringing this to you guys, I'm gonna be upfront and honest. We have Boo-Boo. Cypress Court turned into Cypress Street, and 85 linear feet of the north lane of Cypress Street was ground up. The only reason this is here is this particular street is in poor condition. It's something that we wanted to do, we need to do, but it's in addition. I'm also here on behalf of the contractor. Don't throw anything at me, but everybody makes mistakes, but if he's to make one, this would be the better one to make. Now, he will fix what he's messed up, and he will restabilize, do what he has to do. I just wanted to express to council that this is a unique opportunity to fix a portion of street that is completely failed. And that's what this is about, it's 310 feet from the dead end of Cypress Street east towards 288 business.
How much was already ground up?
85 feet, roughly 85 feet of the north lane, Cypress Street.
And then this will cover, this 310 is the remainder of what has not been ground up?
Well, this will cover the remainder of the linear footage that is basically failed. That 85 feet is just a portion.
Right.
I have an illustration, I think,
Yeah.
personally,
Mhm.
I think I provided some.
I think you.
Before we get too far into this,
Sure.
who identified the location of the work? Is that on us or was that on
Some two of them too.
Matula?
Yes.
So Matula set up work in the wrong spot, proceeded on.
They did.
Because we have a court that's named a street, and the street's named a court.
So essentially, this highlighted area here represents the full 310 feet. Most of our problem is on the south lane, but it has butt over to the north, probably halfway to the first driveway to the north, which is right there. Yeah, that driveway on the top side. So it's compromised up to that point.
Cypress Court is actually a
Cypress
through
Drive,
street.
yes, I'm sorry.
Well, that's what it says drive on
It
here,
is
but
drive.
then it thinks it's street, in the notes it says street.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, this
it's
is just a Google map thing,
Okay.
probably, but, so they saw the dead end, and
Is
they
that how the
said that was
contractor
Cypress
does
Court.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's confusing even for me, cause I was looking
Yes,
for it.
and then so
it's-
Cypress Court is a through street, which is not a court,
Right,
and then Cypress Drive, or Cypress Street is a dead end, so they,
yeah.
So it's our work process whenever we have people that we contract out, do we not go and walk the job with them prior to start of?
We go through a pre-construction, yes, everything's kind of identified, we did not walk every bit of this And this gentleman did too.
Where's Cypress Court?
It's the
Right
one
there.
that's not a court.
It's
It goes
not
all the
really
way
a court.
through. It goes all the way through.
Okay,
So that's where the confusion lied.
Yeah,
okay.
and it is just,
And then
it's
you
a,
see Cypress
it's all
Creek
dead
is dead
end
end.
and.
Thought that was the court.
Thought that was
So did
court.
they.
Yeah, they thought it was the court.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
interesting.
Now, Cliff, just to be clear though, if we do the 310 linear feet, and we come back at some point in time and do the rest of this, all of it will have to be redone.
Not necessarily. This is what we consider to be a Band-Aid, but we're also performing the same process on other streets, which is a 10-inch reclamation, 3 inches of asphalt. If it holds on this subgrade, we might be able to just do an additional 5 feet or whatever.
I don't really like the if it holds. Like, why do we not know whether or not the subbase will hold?
Because we don't have geotechnical engineering data on this area, and,
That's the same thing that happened in Oakwood Shores, right? Is we proceeded to go and overlay without that data, and then they ultimately failed.
yeah, we
So
did
we're gonna repeat
reclamation.
that practice here?
Like I said, it's a Band-Aid, it's not a permanent fix.
I sure don't like that.
It's just a street that's filled. We're gonna Band-Aid it regardless. It's gonna be either a good Band-Aid or a bad Band-Aid.
So what is Matula willing to do, to fix the mistake? You know, if we deny this, what are they willing to do to fix it? Just the 80 something feet?
They're gonna have to put some degree of stabilization within that lane that they ground and overlay it with asphalt.
And up on the picture, is the blue part what was tilled?
Yes.
It's not quite that much. Carson, if you take your cursor a little bit further, it's right about there. Come back a little bit, right about there.
From the intersection.
Just the
lower
north,
intersection.
north lane from the intersection to about where the cursor is.
And then 30,000 just covers the blue portion?
Yes,
Or
it
does
covers,
it cover the entire?
covers the whole, everything highlighted there.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Both,
It's not-
both lanes.
The entire.
Yeah, both lanes.
Yeah.
Entire street?
Yeah.
No. And this pricing, was pulled off of the specs. It was the same unit pricing they used.
Minus the 85 feet of mistake.
Not minus the 85 feet of mistake.
Why would we not suggest that they should remedy that?
Well, we could do that. That would be a deciding factor.
That's interesting. Because really, it's not to our advantage at all, in my opinion, because similar to Oakwood Shores is we decided to go and put a Band-Aid on it, and it was just wasted money. I don't really like wasting money.
Well, and also the reason why we did the streets the way we did in Oakwood Shores was to not have stop-start points, and this has 2 intersections in that street are all stop-start points, so we're gonna fail, you know, in those
It's not a
4
permanent fix.
spots.
What is the Cypress Drive? When was it allocated? On what phase of the road repairs? I remember during the
Cypress Court,
Cypress Drive.
It wasn't.
it was not.
So it wasn't one of the identified failed roads,
Correct.
Not at the
But
time of the
you were
evaluation.
saying that it was.
It is now.
It is now.
It is now.
It's since deteriorated since we got
Yeah, we
the,
have to keep in mind that,
And we're in such good shape.
that engineering, assessment was back in 2018.
Mhm.
Lots of things have changed since. So, and
To remind me, Cliff, how does it leave, if we decide not to do it, what conditions they put it back in?
they're gonna put it back in, the best original condition as they can. They're gonna have to stabilize it, they're gonna have to overlay that section with asphalt, that's what we're doing now.
Well, they're gonna have to do it to spec, right? It's not just, oh, well, I messed this up and I'm gonna go back and put a Band-Aid on it. It needs to be returned back to,
It's actually, I'm sure it's actually gonna be better than what it is now, the 85
but we
feet.
just need to make sure that whatever it's returned back to is up to spec.
Yes, it's gonna be consistent with, it will have to be consistent with the engineering specifications on reclamation, what we've done, which is a certain amount of Portland cement, within the reclaimed base, with a certain amount of asphalt.
The Limit Tool is the same vendor that's doing the other potential resurfacing of asphalt driveways as well?
Well, they
Would that be a
have
fair barter to say, all right, resurface asphalt driveways 6 feet into each one, that way there's the consistency, that's on you, and we'll fix the road, I mean, that's give and take, right?
either way, it's about 30 grand, I imagine he'll just patch this, and we'll call it a day. So it just doesn't work out for him at all.
Doesn't really work out for anybody, we were a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm requesting that if you no action, I can get with him and say, fix what you messed up. So it's saw an opportunity, just wanna pass it by you guys.
What's the expected life of this Band-Aid? If we were to do this,
Longer than the rest of the road.
well, yeah, I mean, if the road failed in 3 years, this is the last time we looked at it. The rest of the road's gonna fail in 3 years, is that what we're anticipating?
No, I would anticipate probably 8 to 10 out of this section. Hopefully it'll hold me off long enough to where I can get back over here and do the street.
The
I did
shaded,
too.
the shaded part is the part that you want to include, or is the part that got ate up?
That's the shaded part is the full amount of linear footage of a lot.
I think he said
That's
That's
just,
just-
that's 300, and what piece of it got destroyed?
From here to about here.
Correct.
Okay.
Just one.
And the
And
other
then
lane
just
is,
the one lane.
is gone. It's gone. We're gonna Band-Aid regardless. It's gonna be rock, it's gonna be.
I mean, look, how many houses is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses?
More importantly, I was looking at 146 and 147 Cypress Drive, those entries, driveways, that we make sure that if we do this, the approach on that is settled, so that we don't come back for a different change order to say their
Yes.
approach is messed up.
And we're not into this for changing any kind of elevation profiles or anything like that. It's kind of just repairing how it sits.
So we're talking, they were supposed to do Cypress Court,
Yes.
and all of Cypress Court?
Yeah, it's actually already been ground up. It's already been tilled.
So we're talking about.
So why would we go from where they tore it up all the way up to Cypress Court intersection?
Money?
That'd be another 30,000.
Another 30,000?
Yes.
But would we ever have to come back to it again? You know, say Band-Aid, would that make it permanent? No?
You're still gonna have the
Yeah, we still don't know what
conversion back to the old road.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to minimize really what we need to do to get the section of the street repaired that's failed.
We did geotechnical on Cypress Court,
They did geotechnical on every street.
so would it be fair to assume that Cypress Street is similar to Cypress Court?
Well, right, that's.
Whatever it is, whatever the 85 feet that was screwed up in Cypress Court, would it be fair to assume that the subbase would be similar and we could make them the same?
Yeah, I've driven down Cypress Court, it's rough.
So I guess what I was gonna get to is we're talking about 6, I think that's 6 houses, I can't really tell, 6 or 8 houses.
Should be 1, 2, 3 on the south side of Cypress Drive. Those two. Probably 8.
8 houses, 30,000, and then we were talking about the 30,000 for the driveway, which is not a performance issue, but an aesthetic issue, and that affects probably 20.
I'll go back and Band-Aid what they've already done,
Yeah, they're gonna do that.
or nothing.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
The one
Well,
lane.
yeah,
I'm thinking, I think where you're headed, like, we're considering spending 30 for 6 to 8 versus 30 for 20.
impact.
That's
Per
a
house.
slap in the face.
And also, it's asphalt, correct, or is this
No, it's just
asphalt?
Right.
So is this some something that the county could do whenever we're able, and save some money on that versus paying contractors to do that? Whenever we go back and do the whole road,
You can.
and that would
Get
save.
the county back. You can.
Well, every year we get two
Yeah,
miles,
we
right?
can, for
Yeah.
sure, absolutely, absolutely.
I'm just curious, cause I know it saves a lot of money to do county versus contractor. And if you're gonna do the whole road, it might be beneficial to do the whole road at once,
And when the county does it, that's what they're gonna do, they're gonna do a reclamation.
right?
Are we gonna do geotechnical for that whenever the county comes in? And
No, we're not. And we do not,
why?
because they are not an entity designed to rebuild roads, we use them in a manner in which they're not supposed to be
I
used.
just feel like we're setting ourselves up for failure whenever we perform work in that manner, right? Is if we don't know what we're building on, then we can't really set up our sub base correctly
Mhm.
and then put on top of it. And so then we're just gonna keep having premature failures of these roads, which doesn't make sense to me. Why would we not
Don't love that smile on your face.
get ahead of it?
It's money.
Money,
Well, yeah, it's money, then let's make sure that we're doing our due
We're good with that.
diligence prior to, right? Cause that doesn't make sense to me. We're just wasting
We're good
money.
with that.
I'm with you, man. We need to make sure we're building it up the right way so it lasts longer.
absolutely.
So, let me get this correct. The 4 miles that we just did in Oakwood Shores, we didn't have geotechnical on,
Okay, that's not,
that's different, right?
that's different,
Okay.
we did.
We had that from knowing when they failed.
We needed that info.
Yeah.
Cause that's how we got into the
Well,
original
that's,
situation.
I thought we knew,
Right.
that's what I said, we
Yeah.
knew that was bad. We
There's
had
these
to-
are
Whenever I
roads
came in, they were like, well, we don't know what it's made of. And I was like, no, we gotta know that before we're doing it.
I was just thinking the fact that the county did that.
Since they were originally done in Oakwood,
It's over to us, too.
okay. So the county's, their minimum requirements has,
Has improved since the
Yeah.
original guy.
yes.
Plus, we didn't have any idea what the sub base was, and it did vary greatly out there.
Mhm.
So,
And it will here too.
yeah, it will here too. I mean, obviously, if you're saying this part was failed, but everything else is fine, and that's only a couple hundred feet away.
Well,
Yeah.
but it's also on a curve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you also got a large amount of transitional weight with heavy trash trucks and stuff like that in a lane where you would expect it to be if they're turning right. So, I mean, we see it in places that it makes sense.
So is your opinion that we should do this, or we shouldn't do this at this point in time?
At this point in time, my opinion is I would like to do this.
And why would we wanna do this, given the discussion we've had, and we know that this is not gonna last very long, and we still have a whole lot of other projects to do?
Because I truly don't know when another time is gonna be where we'll be able to touch this stretch of street. It's already gone. It's almost pushing mud. It's not to say anything for this street over other streets. We replaced plenty with rock, you know. We're just getting further behind because of these situations. It needs more resources, it needs more money, it needs more time. And I don't have it.
What would be the cost just to patch the 85 that they tilled up?
Should be free to us.
Yes.
And that'll fix the northbound lane, which you said is the heaviest load from all the heavy trucks turning right there.
The south lane. The south lane is, where the bad failure is, but it had led off into the north.
Okay.
But the worst part is the south lane.
But we can be confident it will not be any worse than the day they accidentally ground that up.
Yeah, I would be confident with that if they just repair it. If that's what you're getting at.
I mean, we're not doing an injustice to the residents on Misty Court or Cypress Drive. It's gonna be just as good, if not a little better, than the day before they ground it up.
This is good. I wouldn't be able to call it that. It's just a bad shape.
Right, they're not great shape.
Yeah. I think we would give them a stable drive.
We got a lot of roads that aren't in great shape.
Yeah.
All right, council, any further discussion? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve, deny, or just let it go?
All right,
Is it the same as the other one where you can just let it die? and
Yeah.
then
You don't wanna make an action.
Do we not have to take an action in regards to Matula remedying the mistake?
No,
No,
that's,
this is
that's
just
already
allocate
taken care
funds.
of.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just wanna make sure that that it is going to be up to spec, it's not just gonna be, hey, I'm gonna throw some asphalt on it and call it good.
I am fairly certain of that, more certain, I will reassure.
Always is that right? Is that right?
Thank you. Cause I mean, mistakes happen, and sometimes people just wanna move on from it, put a Band-Aid on it, cover it up and go. I'd rather be the spec.
all right, calling for a motion on item E. Going once. Going twice. All right, item E dies for lack of action.
Thank you for hearing.
Thanks, bud. All right, item F, discuss and consider approving a service agreement with Anna Celadone to provide city water to lots 4 and 5, block 1 of Havenwood subdivision at 1.5 times the cost of a water rate within the city of Richwood.
Okay, I was approached by an individual, a property owner within the county, located between, furniture, I'm sorry, Crawford's, yes, and, the RV parks. They're requesting service, it's not within the city limit. I have talked to the engineer and the owner, it is a residential service. From what I understand, it will be servicing, a future fireworks warehouse. I believe that's correct. And this is service outside the city limits, so it has to be dealt with a service agreement between the property owner and the city. And I believe that the demand is 0 to none on the water system. I don't think we're losing anything, we're gaining, 0.5 times that the water rate.
What would be the cost to connect to that?
They'll pay, we have a 4-inch water main that runs through that area that services the RV parks, they'll pay the standard tap fees. There's no boring or anything like that.
No cost to the city, right?
To get them.
0 cost to the city,
Is that water and sewer or just water?
just water.
Just
Yeah, they have enough property there to accommodate sewer, but not to accommodate water and sewer. And we do have sewer main within this area, but it is forced main, you know, we connect the house to that. Be messy. So I know that in the past, utilities outside the city limits have been an issue. I wanna express to you guys that, adding a service such as this does not save our soul. We will still be making the next water, infrastructure expansion, probably before we finish developing out Oakwood Shores, it's just a fact. So this does not save or burn us, and I don't think it has much impact, or any negative impact, actually. I'm hearing no request. It can be done at 0 cost to the city, and we get a little bit extra off of it.
And this is zoned residential? Or
This is ETJ.
well, it's ETJ, this is
Yeah.
county, this isn't city property, so.
But it's gonna be a future fireworks warehouse,
I think that's what I'm understanding.
and they're gonna use our water for fire water.
No. I would imagine it's gonna be the right, it won't have enough capacity to carry that, you know, it's,
They're gonna have a restroom in there, is that?
yeah,
what it is?
restroom and sink, I'm sure. 1 inch service was all they requested.
I guess the future could hold anything, though. It could be bought out by commercial for the county, it could be,
I guess my only concern is that we have water pressure issues inside of the city serving our citizens. And now we're talking about allowing people that are in the ETJ to use our water pressure service just to make an extra 0.5% or half times the cost of the water rate. What kind of optics is that? I understand it's just a 1 inch line coming off a 4 inch, and it's really not gonna take much more than the RV that's hooked up, right down the road.
The RV park.
I'm just saying, because not all the lots use the same thing, so if you hook up one to it, it's a 1 inch line, right? So it's basically the same line.
I agree, if it's a matter of principle, I don't think it's a matter of impact on the system, from my point of view.
And they're not willing to build us a water tower?
I tried, Mike, I'm sorry.
How long is the service agreement? Is it, do we have a indefinite, as long as they're paying their bill, or is it a,
Well,
a term?
they would have to fund that with our attorneys for them to write up the service agreement. I would probably recommend as long as they maintain ownership of the property, change ownership, a new service agreement has to be made. If not, we just disconnect.
Just out of curiosity, the RV park by Oaks that has the 4 inch line connecting, you know, I can see that's why we have water pressure issues if we're pumping that much water that much further north. It kind of drops the water pressure for the whole city. If they're under a term or an indefinite, you know, pay as you go service, you know, if they're under a term, we can potentially save water pressure if it, once their term expires, and save that water pressure for the city. And then, hey, if that were to happen, let's say their term expires in 2 years and we sign this lady Anna Sildone with a 5-year term, now we're 3 years more pumping water all the way up north, depleting our water pressure. I'm just trying to think of a way to save water pressure for the city versus pumping it to.
Is
I
anyone
understand.
else,
Huh?
I think, is there anyone else along that line that's on it? It's only,
No, and it will accommodate, I believe it will accommodate up to, the 4 inch line will accommodate up to 150.
How long has this 4 inch main been in service?
2015, I'm showing, is when the inspection occurred for Bayou RV Park.
And so we have a service level agreement that's in place currently with Bayou Oaks.
I believe they were annexed.
We don't have an agreement, that's what I was looking for just now to see what they're.
I think that they were in.
I just show a letter from the previous director stating that the inspection was completed and it looks good. And that was August 19th of 2015, so that was prior to them coming online.
Is Bayou Oaks
Bayou,
annexed in
I've
the city?
never heard of them, so.
Maybe I'm
That's
used
the
to
RV
seeing
park.
service area maps and stuff like
Just
that.
understand, at that point in time of the city, not many agreements were entered, like they should have been.
Okay.
But we supply water to Bayou Oaks RV Park right now.
That's correct.
At
Yeah,
1.5
sorry.
times the rate.
Which I mean, I'm not an engineer.
Oh, no, they're
but I
the
can
RV.
see maybe that's why
They're
water
the
pressure
RV
is.
Yeah, they have the RV rate.
That's
What
I was
impact
thinking,
is that?
because
I
if-
don't know.
So far north.
If we think about the triangle that we were talking about with now with the new water tower and how we're gonna have a lot better pressure, is, man, having this arm that's going up here, that's been killing us. Since 2015, has that been killing our pressure?
I would say it's been killing our pressure.
No?
We had a problem before it was there. I can't say that, I won't say it's not a problem. But the problem started when they crossed 2004, so it's not, we're sure the problem was when they crossed 2004. They exited outside that triangle and,
Well, that's what this is, right? This is outside 2004 or no, right?
well, we're building infrastructure expansions, correct?
Yeah, now we are, but this is crossing 2004 and up. I mean, this is, about 288, right?
Did you say it's just past Crawford?
Yeah, it's just that
Yeah.
Crawford.
So does that mean go to Crawford's?
That main goes on to
Crawford.
Crawford's.
Goes past Crawford.
Yeah.
But I mean, does it service Crawford?
Yes,
No, they,
I thought it did.
well, they have the option, it does not currently
That's
serve
Crawford's right there at
Crawford's.
the very bottom, right?
Because Crawford
The
is
blue.
being
The blue.
annexed, Chevy Blue.
See it?
Yeah, Crawford's
Crawford's
not.
furniture.
Oh, I
is
see,
at the
in
bottom
the
of
city.
yeah, I see.
Correct.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
But they currently do not take water service from the city of Richmond or sewer services.
Interesting.
Man,
I would
I
definitely
can
be,
see all those properties wanting to tap off our forest
Yeah.
line in the future. I mean,
Well, that's the question that we need to, I don't know if we're still,
Were
are
they getting
we
the water
still
from
on
that
topic
water?
here? Is it okay for us to discuss this as far as we need to see the service level agreement with Bayou Oaks to understand whether or not we should go into a service level agreement here with Anna's Silverline?
We can table it, and bring it back.
I said, I don't think there is one, but
But that might be another action item that we need to address. I mean, it's hard for me to say that we should enter into a service level agreement with this lady if we don't even know that we have a service level agreement with somebody up the road. And that's the only service is on Bayou Oaks and then this one, those would be the only two.
that would be to stop doing business with a lot of things because we don't have agreements with that.
Didn't Bayou Oaks start off as like a single point and then single point of service and then we metered all the trailers, all the slips?
No,
How many meters do we have in Bayou Oaks right now?
We have 2 master meters for 2 parks.
North and south, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just,
So they divvy it up equally in the park. They don't, it's not.
they charge a
per
flat
lot.
rate for
That's
water.
correct.
for
Yeah,
water.
it's in there.
And that cost plus to
Yeah.
the residents.
It's like 650 a month.
similar to how
Property.
you buildings do it.
Yeah.
We don't build them.
They just put flat. Which, you know,
Or how they
for the
build.
RV park, that works.
And they're,
For
they're
this-
not in the city. That's,
Correct.
that's not part of the city, the Bayou Oaks.
No.
They're past Crawford's.
I know, but I guess Cliff mentioned something about.
Yeah, and that might be my confusion, I'm sorry, I looked at a lot of service.
Yeah, no,
Some stuff.
no.
I-
If that did happen, I'm not saying it couldn't have happened.
Well, they need to, yeah.
But I mean, we had to pull that line in specifically for them, right? That forest line.
No, it was constructed by the individual who constructed the RV parks, we were out in the, we didn't do it.
Well, okay, they had to pull it in
Yes, sir.
to get to our water.
Yes, sir, they had to.
So there's gotta be a service agreement.
Yeah, so if they pay for the 4-inch line,
Is this tapping into their,
is this tapping into what they paid for?
No, we're
Okay.
assumed ownership of their own infrastructure.
just like we talked about doing with the other,
So which pump feeds that? Feeds the 4-inch main that's going up there?
With the towers.
The towers?
The pressure
So use the
from the
pressure
towers.
from there, the same pressure from this tower over here that feeds the Wood Shores area?
And there's no circulation out there. Do you do any chlorine testing out there?
Yeah, that's a good,
Yes, we do.
But I mean, there's no loop, there's no circulation.
There's no loop, it has to be flushed right off.
so that's another operational question too, is, you know, how do we fix that too? Because we don't like to have dead ends, right?
You don't, not like that, it's just a dead end, dead end, dead end.
And that's a long dead end too,
Yeah, you can't.
with no other taps that are coming off of it currently.
Yeah.
So has that been setting us up for failure this whole time?
No, there's, the concentration of people within the parks, keep the flow out there,
Does another tap help it?
Hmm?
Does another tap help?
Not one is.
Not the summer like this.
Thanks for the conversation. I learned quite a few things about that. Hopefully we'll learn some more about it.
Yeah, I don't show it was annexed. I showed the last annex we did was 2016, which was Crawford. I don't show anything on the park,
All right,
other than, okay.
any further discussion or questions from the council? Call for a motion on item F. Going once. Going twice. Alright, item F dies for lack of that. Moving on to item G, discussion and possible action regarding street flooding on Quail Run Street.
Okay, so many of you guys might be aware of standing water situations around town in certain areas. Quail Run is one of the most severe. We past heavy rain before the hurricane, I guess came probably 3 or 4 weeks before. Had an individual put me through it pretty good, and I couldn't tell him no anymore. I said, well, yeah, I'll do what I can to look into this. Now, it was always assumed that the center section of the street, where it shows the elevation at 10.08, was lower than the end section of the street, because we have actually put bypass pumps in that location to try to evacuate the stormwater from that drain, pump it around to Briar Creek and dump it in a different spot. We have pumped for hours and have never been able to get ahead of it, so we have to assume that the water levels hydraulically the same as they are in the outfall ditch at that center section of the street. So Strand was kind enough to come through and shoot elevations for the city of Richwood, because they were shooting elevations on the main outfall ditch there. And the elevations turned up something that we did not expect at all, is that the street elevations do fall from west to east as they are supposed to, and the street is not the problem. Looking into that, they did find out that the exit pipe here, the discharge at 7.10 elevation, is actually below grade of the ditch, which is one problem we think we're going to remedy when we begin rehabilitating this ditch. But it very well could be a geographical and capacity issue, that it just needs more area to flow out to. And that we have standing water on Wisteria, which is on this side, and Quail Run. We see the same in both areas. With that being said, there's no action here. Just wanted to let council know that, and we've been advised to take a look at it with closed circuit televising. We've done this twice. We replaced a section that's highlighted in the bottom right hand in yellow because we did notice a collapse there. And we ran cameras down the line twice, the full run of the main trunk line, and we do not see any collapses. But this particular situation is because it's below grade, then an opportunity for facilitation to happen very fast. And also with that, we can't be sure that there's not a problem between the drain box 10.08 elevation and the drain box of 9.86 elevation. But I just want to let council know that regarding the standing water situation that residents are absolutely sick of, we're going to do our best to try to find out what that problem is. We can cover it in our operating budget. But if we can't, I will be bringing it back to council for a decision to either look into it further with additional engineering so they can present options for repair. And that's really all this is. I just want it on record, because I promised the resident I would do so. I know it's a problem. I know council understands that it's a problem.
When they flood, okay, we got that stretch of woods that goes from Audubon to Wisteria. Yeah, my understanding was that stretch of wood was kind of like a collection pond anyway.
Nah, it's a hill, mind it, actually between two ditches.
Okay, but we do have the ditch that runs north there, like in Mark's backyard, right?
Yes.
So, when that street floods, is that ditch full?
Yes.
Is it running backwards into the street? Or are you saying it's a hill it can't get across?
Well, we originally thought that until we put bypass pumps out there, or when we put bypass pumps out there, we could not rid the water from the western half of that street. But when Strand Associates shot the elevations, it does not lend to that at all. Because if that be the case, then this 9.86 should be so much deeper than it is where it's 10.08, and that's not the case. There is no standing water at the end of that street.
Oh, we're just collecting at the 10.08.
When there is a
Yes.
foot of water at the 10.08.
So
Yeah, something's
it
wrong.
seems to me like your drainage is running backwards, right?
Well, that's what it seems like. So we have to eliminate the possibility that there's not now a compromise in the main trunk line, which we are gonna do.
I mean, that's
We can
that's
do it
what makes sense to me, if
Yeah.
your
Well,
street's
those-
not flooded, but it's
It
got
goes up to
feedback.
10.62
Yeah,
right there in the middle.
is this like
So
a
is that
bowl
counting
under
a little hill?
It is, but that's typical of a street profile when you have confined drainage. It will generally start, go to the drain boxes, come back up, back down, go to the drain boxes from two different.
Maybe it's moving down, there's too much of a saddle in there.
We would think so. The center street elevations or the rim of the inlet do not say that. So that's something different.
But the water's collecting there.
The water's collecting there. So, yeah, I mean, logic would tell you there's a compromise in that line. We just haven't seen it.
So you have a drain box at 986 and 1008, right?
The drain,
Or
How
1008.
about the drain
sorry.
box? The
986
10.89.
and 10.08, right? There's drain boxes at both of those?
correct.
Here and here.
Yeah, so all the water that goes into 9.86 could potentially be going back to the 10.08?
It's all uphill.
They're connected? No, if it's not at grade. It's not going in the street, it's going in the drain,
Yeah.
right? If it's not at grade, it could go back and backfill, right? I mean, I'm not an engineer.
But-
But how about the drain box on the far left, the 10.89? Because of its.
10.89.
Right in the
Far left.
corner.
At the very end,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right,
just
agree.
them shooting Center Street elevations.
That's not
No
a drain
box.
box?
No, it's
Oh,
just,
It's
okay.
just
yeah.
those black boxes, those, ones with the red arrows, these black boxes right there.
And what we wanted to see is make sure, because we thought the street was low in that area, make sure that the street profile, falls like it should.
I see
And
what
it
you're saying,
does.
Lori. Is there another one? Another
Yeah,
drain
probably
box?
No.
No, it goes
Further
out to
down?
Oyster Creek Drive from that release. We don't-
And the
that's-
rim height in the white box above Cliff is the actual height of the rim of the grate, right?
Of the grate to the drain box, yes.
So you got 9.5 and 9.36, so technically the one in the middle should be higher.
Well, the one in the middle is not a drain box, it's just a Center Street
Okay.
elevation.
Just
The
these
black,
two.
yeah, the black marks.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about,
This one.
the rim height is 9.5, and the rim height at the end is 9.3.
That's correct, it's lower than it's supposed to be.
And they're connected how?
There, just as illustrated, water flows in the north side of the street, flows to the south, and then flows to the east.
Supposed to.
Supposed to. So it gets there, because it gets there eventually, every time,
Just slow.
Hmm?
Just slowly.
this slope.
But all the water pools at 10.08 and eventually goes to 9.83.
Yeah, eventually, yes.
When will that need to be overhauled?
Timeline.
Hopefully we'll be working on it by, winter this year.
My whole area is bad, Wisteria there.
Yeah.
Dog Kennels always got a swimming pool in their parking lot.
All I wanna know is, I've never eaten at that Wings of the Morning.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
What is it? I was trying that out.
And then,
Is it not?
What
It's
is
a home
that?
business, I don't wanna talk
And do
about
they
it.
have a permit?
Yeah, I don't,
I would go try it.
That's kind of-
Cliff,
not today.
white out.
Pulled it up on my Google Maps and I was like,
Do they have any?
I already looked. No, they don't.
Let's all go over there after the council meeting.
so yeah, like I say, there's no action here, I just wanna inform council of this. I talked to Tom Colville and Mr. Colville and told him that I wouldn't. It's been a long-standing issue, and we're gonna look more into it, and if there's action, I'll bring it back to council.
So you said camera was put from the 10.08 or not yet?
It not seen obstruction. We're gonna do it again.
What's it graded at? You can tell grade for how that's.
But not with the closed circuit tube
No.
that I know of, no.
Yeah, it's just a crawler, right?
Just
What the water table is at that point, maybe it's.
Well, we went out there last rain and you throw leaves over the grate and see if they just float. There's no water.
Yeah, to me, then that means that it's not at grade. That means that our
It
drainage is not set.
There's gotta be a saddle in there.
Yeah.
It could be a belly, something like that. Generally, you can pick that out, something drastic enough to have a standing water effect at these elevations. You might be able to see it when you're going up,
Doesn't take much.
But that is about directly in line where it does it on Wisteria as well, isn't it?
Wisteria's kinda
Yes.
more to the
It's kind of odd too.
southwest.
You also have to think about the eddies that are created too. If you have the water that's running down into these drain boxes and how it's gonna circulate, it's not going to want to go downhill immediately either as it's coming into itself. So then that would be a good indication that that point is just holding the water.
It could be very possible. In that case, I'd have to, petition Strand, but, additional capacities to eliminate that might be the answer.
Interesting.
Wisteria, so back to your point, Wisteria almost at that same
Yeah, pretty close.
angle has the same
Pretty
issue?
close.
Well, from there all the way to Oyster Creek, really.
Really?
Yeah.
Wisteria does too.
Sounds like a sinkhole or something.
Well,
Yeah,
we believe, I've talked to Strand, we believe this situation is gonna be improved just by improving the outfall ditches.
It's still,
That's kinda scary, but if it's right down the line where all those, it's all pooling there, is it the same or is the sinkhole, I mean, we're all by salt domes all around us.
Yeah. It used to be a lake.
Used to be, still
No,
is.
will be.
Do you have any other questions on this?
Any other discussion or questions, council? Appreciate it, Cliff. All right, moving along to item H, discussion regarding standing water on Oyster Creek Drive in front of driveways and intersections of South Gill Pond.
So this is another standing water issue that, we're taking on the chin anymore, Ranch Council. So Oyster Creek Drive, this illustration right here is, as you know, as most of y'all probably know, is a concrete street. Back in 12 or 13, the concrete street elevation profile was modified with a foam leveling system, and they overlaid it with about a 2 or 3 inch layer of asphalt. This particular situation did exist back then to a slight degree. When we added asphalt, we perpetuated an already past situation. When we came in and replaced the sidewalks, just due to elevations, we had to modify sidewalk elevations between driveways due to natural property elevations. So it kind of funnels it to that same area, and again, kind of perpetuating the issue. The issue at South Yo Pond, this is not, I wouldn't call this just a frivolous compliance. It's a problem. It stands there for 2-3 weeks, sometimes to a depth 6-8 inches for the better part of a week.
It's a lot of water.
So, but this particular drainage system, if you want to call it that, on this street, is just curb and gutter. It runs down to one of 2 areas, which are going to be South Yo Pond and North Yo Pond, or South Yo Pond and Magnolia. So those 2 drain basins there. So there's no confined drainage or anything like that. To truly look into this situation, it's much more vast than something like 12 Run. I would have to employ Strand to look into it and see if there's truly an option if council wishes to take that route. What I would probably start out with is a description of the problem and have Strand present me with a draft task order to look into the situation, just to dig into it, and maybe out of that we can present 1 to 3 options to repair if council wishes to go that route. So We have not done anything just yet, just talking with council, trying to get some direction on how you wish to proceed.
You say this was done in 2012?
I think it was 12 or 13. I
How's
was
the,
not here long.
how's the road holding up at this point, since it does have all the standing water, is it?
It's holding up, fine. The road, the structure's stability.
I think that if you go down it and look, just stop somewhere on that road and you look how much of the curb is missing, you know immediately we've raised the road so much, there's nowhere for the water to go. I mean, it's obvious, you know, without even an engineering degree, what happened to the road.
And when they did this, you know, they did change elevation profiles, but it was, you know, to grade. It's just the situations in overlaying the cracks, the bad cracks in the concrete and the sidewalks and that kind of perpetuated this.
You don't have open ditches there, right? There's no open ditches.
Nah, just further down the curve as far as it's gotta go to get out of here.
What's to the north of that? I guess that would be north.
That's gonna be west.
West,
Yes,
which
sir.
Shadow Bend and Mozzie Oak and Burr Oak.
Yes.
Looks like there's newer home construction there.
That's correct.
Are they built at a higher elevation than the existing properties of Wilshire Creek Drive?
There
That
is-
That would channel all that water to the lower elevation.
No, their elevations are a bit higher, but their drainage plan was approved. It all goes to their retention pond.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
so that's-
Yeah, it directs to their retention.
because that was a big point of contention whenever we approved that.
Yes.
Just to make sure that there was not gonna be any adverse effect.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious did that intersection have all that flooding prior?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it wasn't exacerbated by.
I mean, could we get an estimate from Strand to
Yeah.
how much it'll be to estimate? I
Sure,
mean,
yeah. No,
you know, I hate to spend, I think we've all said it, you know, we've paid for a lot of engineering studies that amount to projects of money we're not gonna have for a long time. And I hate to do that again, but, I mean, it's a serious issue. If they can, for a reasonable price, give us the 3 solutions at, you know, different price increments, then,
Well, what we don't understand too, when I request this engineering, you know, this puts me a step or 2 ahead. Just getting the preliminary idea and engineering out of the way.
Yeah.
That way, when we wanna fund these items, these projects, if we can get away with $20,000-$30,000 in engineering, that sounds steep. But it saves you 8 months on the back end. When you wanna go to do a project, everybody's like, where's the action? Like, well, we gotta plan it first, you know?
Where is this water supposed to go to?
I think it's gonna go to, South Yopon and North Yopon. It's not illustrated here. I think it's a drain basin in this vicinity down here. Yopon will curve around.
So it's supposed to go
It's supposed to go by the Chevron.
west to east, is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think it all goes there. I think a portion of it will go
So you're
there.
saying west to east is the direction of travel that this should be going?
I think so.
And it's currently just sitting there.
Oh, is it supposed to go to that ditch that goes behind Mark's house?
Correct.
Because he did.
So it's supposed to go east and north?
The ditch that
it's all because it's behind Mark's house.
always.
But in this particular situation, you know, side of Quail Run, this is different. Water just stands. It's getting it out of there. In Quail Run, it'll go away. Here, it doesn't go away.
Evaporation.
And yeah, it's not as drastic, but it doesn't go away. I would call it a little bit more of an inconvenience.
What would
Because
an open ditch look like along there, and could that hold that volume of water?
I don't think that would be possible. We don't have the drop to accommodate it to any other established drainage area.
What's to the south over here, Oyster Creek? You keep going, you're running into Bobby Ford Park and the Oyster Creek, right?
That's correct. We can't flow into Oyster Creek. We gotta have stormwater permits for that.
Yeah. And we don't have any ditches over there, right?
We do have, well, not ditches, but we do have established drainage on Moore. It all goes in the same spot. It all goes to 102 Alpha.
Yeah, I was just trying to think, if this is not going west to east like we're thinking it should, is can we make it go where we want it to go?
Absolutely, we redo the
Right.
street.
I was gonna say redo.
I'm talking about without redoing the street. Right?
Yeah, okay.
If
You
you
put
were,
in a lift station,
You-
pipe.
no, I was thinking if you grade it, open ditch that way, and it gets in the more ditch and it just goes somewhere instead of just sitting there.
Yeah,
Well, but how long do these streets usually last for?
concrete street, expected life is about 30 years.
Okay, 30, okay. I wasn't sure, I was gonna say if
They're
it's 40,
30
then
way
you're
there.
looking at, it's already almost 10 years old, you know, you can wait a few more years.
Oh, no, this street here is over 40.
Uh-huh.
You're just seeing the asphalt. This
Oh, okay,
concrete
that's
street.
what I asked you, the 2012, I thought that's whenever this was done.
That's when they.
The overlay.
they
They
left
just
it.
keep overlaying
They-
on top of what was
Gotcha,
there
gotcha,
instead of
gotcha.
going down the
Okay, I
surface
thought
like
you
we
were saying that in
need.
2012.
You're about one more overlay from not having a curb there.
So
at
it's
all.
just adding on top on top
It's-
on
So
top.
that's what I'm wondering,
Barely
if like,
showing.
It's never broke up and
rather than
Done
do a
correctly.
whole lot of stuff to try to figure out the drainage, would it be more beneficial to just shape that street back down and, you know?
Well, we don't.
Not that we
no-
have it right now, but in the next few years maybe. Or if-
Yeah, to correct grading like that, you're gonna be redoing a lot of street. It's not a matter of the asphalt. The problem was there before the asphalt,
Okay,
so it was still there. It just wasn't as bad.
gotcha.
And the asphalt protects the subgrade of Forestry Creek Drive right now, because it's just cracked, it's busted to prevent. So yeah, I can go to the screen and get their thoughts on this and, you know, revisit it at a later date with a draft or an estimate for a task force to look into this.
So when would we, to Melissa's point, when would we ever think about redoing this road?
We tried in 2012 and we didn't have the money.
Okay, but in our future plans, right, we're already looking to the future for a lot of our streets, is this on any of our lists? And do we anticipate 5 years, 10 years?
Okay, gotcha.
How long until we say, hey, we wanna make sure that we redo this street? Concrete street, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna be a smart aleck or think that I am, but I can't anticipate that till we can get the par.
I
So
just
I
would
don't-
hate to go and spend the money on engineering for that if 3 years from now we say, hey, we're gonna go ahead and replace the street, and that would be part of that engineering package, and now we just spent twice the amount of money.
I think you-
Also, that you know that you fixed it correctly,
And that's,
possibly.
I think that's a valid point. The only true, there's really only two solutions at this point. Pump the water, pump it out of there and move it to the ditch or redo the road.
For reasons.
That's the only, your two viable
Right.
sources.
Easiest.
Yeah,
I don't wanna convince you guys of that without backup from the engineers,
Sure.
you know, but I agree with Eric 100%. That's it.
but there are several roads that that are in that condition right now that, kind of like the Magnolia sewer repair, there's a $9,000 fix or $120,000 fix. One's
Right.
just infinitely better and the other's a Band-Aid.
So if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to at least see what it would cost for Strand to look into this deeper and actually have a clear understanding of what we're trying to achieve. I can bring it back to you and we can weigh it then. So if you want to proceed or just let it go.
Alright.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Cliff. All right, we're now moving item 6. I show the time to be 19:59 p.m. We will go into executive session pursuant to Chapter 551, Tax 071, consultation with counsel on legal matters, a bid contract for the North Water Plant, and pursuant to Chapter 551, Tax 0745, personnel matters to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee, chief of police. And actually, 2000, go to executive session.